Meow.
Hello YouTubers and random Doctor Who fans, it is me, Ozzy, one part of the MonoSupreme YouTube channel. Today, here on the MonoSupreme podcast, joined with Richard Lloyd. Hello Richard.
Hello everybody, it's lovely to be here, thank you for having me.
Excellent, we're very happy to have you on. So we'll just jump straight into it, so we'll just an introduction to your channel, who you are, what you're about.
Okay, I was I was saying to you the other day that I don't really know what my channel is at the moment because I've just finished university, and so I've not been paying as much attention to it and doing as much stuff on there recently. So it's a bit of a hodgepodge of different stuff and sporadic uploads. Hopefully that's about to change though going forwards. But in terms of what it has been in the past, I started off back in 2014 with figure adventures. Well, I say figure adventures, but they weren't stop motion or anything. They were just very basic images and text, not even voice recordings on top or anything. All the text was on little captions at the bottom. So fairly primitive figure adventures. I then sort of proceeded on to slightly less primitive figure adventures in the following years, interspersed with other stuff like reviews, discussion videos, increasingly sort of in more recent years. I've done a lot of collaborations with Miles Taylor of Tailored Vision in recent years as well. That's probably the most kind of the one constant in the past few years on the channel. I've also done a series about the music of the most recent era of Doctor Who, Sagan Akinola's work. So yeah, those are probably the things that I would say people probably associate my channel with at the moment. But as I say, it's in a bit of a mess at the moment. And again, just as well, since 2014, I've done so much different stuff. I've dabbled with all sorts really, but all of it themed around Doctor Who, just to bring it back to some little simple answer for you there. So yeah, Doctor Who content of various different descriptions.
Wait, before you go anywhere, don't forget to like and subscribe. Really helps get this video out there, gets it to reach many more people, helps the YouTube algorithm. So why am I wearing a Matt Smith costume in this video? Well, we have a Matt Smith comedy sketch coming out tomorrow. It's totally worth your time. We put a lot of work into it, and we'd really appreciate it if you go and check that out. So hit subscribe and then you'll be the first to know about it. Excellent. I mean, was it the goal from the beginning to do Doctor Who, or...?
Yes, it was. There wasn't ever anything else, to be honest, just in my life in general, there hasn't been anything else really to compare with Doctor Who, and certainly not on in terms of for YouTube. So yeah, and along the way I've dabbled with other stuff a tiny bit, but yeah, I've always stuck to Doctor Who. That's always been the thing, and it always will be. Yeah.
So you were talking about the journey of your channel. So what would you say are highlights and lowlights? Any videos that you're extremely proud of, and any videos which you just cringe and just cannot watch?
Okay, interesting. Well, actually, as it happens, yesterday I stumbled upon some of my old stuff. I was watching one of my old videos. It was a review of the Into the Dalek time zone playset from the 3.75 inch range.
I was just watching a Vote Saxon one last night, yeah.
Yes, that was exactly the same. I was watching that, and then I somehow ended up on mine. That's right. I think it's because in the comments section of that video, and this makes me cringe as well, in the comments section of Vote Saxon's video, I'd put, "Oh, I did a review. Come and check it out." Oh dear. Anyway, so I clicked the link and I watched that again, and my voice was a lot higher pitched. The editing was a mess because you could hear. I must have had computer fans on in the background or something, and you can hear every time I cut the audio that it's a really abrupt cutting off of that noise, and it's just not smooth or anything at all. So stuff from sort of that era, I mean that was 2015. I would say, to be honest, anything, I don't know, anything before 2017 is a bit
still figuring it out.
Yeah, but then even then, I mean, I sort of still feel like that to this day a bit, to be honest. But in terms of puberty and stuff, and the higher pitched voice, that is a problem with a lot of the early stuff. Looking back, and like attention to detail, but then you kind of learn as you go on. So at the same time, like I was kind of thinking to myself when I was watching that, I was like, shall I privatize this and like some other old stuff? But then I thought, you know what, I'll just leave it up because it's part of the journey, isn't it? It's part of how you you got to the point you are, and of course you're still going to keep going and hopefully get even better. But in terms of high points, I mean, I guess the highest points in terms of success, if we can call it that, is like when I've done more mainstreamy stuff, like my series 10 reviews did pretty well, and like around that sort of time, 2017, I guess was when I sort of worked out how to, I suppose, like market stuff, how to get seen and how to get viewed. I mean, again, that you can never really know that for sure, but like there are certain things you can do, like if you do certain types of videos, like I think over the summer of 2016 or 17 I did loads of top 10s and stuff, and that's just like an instant thing because people search up for that on YouTube, so those got a lot of views, and like to this day they've sort of slowed down a bit now, but they were like my sort of big earners in terms of monetization as well. They were like just going on for years in the background. They really kind of paid dividends in that sense, both literally and just metaphorically as well, in terms of views and stuff. But yeah, I guess that would be it. I mean, and in recent years, I suppose the stuff that I've wanted to do myself, like the more niche stuff, hasn't necessarily aligned with what I could do and what would be more successful. I mean, let's take another example. I did some Series 12 themed videos, which did quite well. But then, yeah, like it's that thing, you have to sort of make yourself a bit mainstream to do that. You have to kind of sort of adapt yourself and perhaps lose a bit of your own interests and your own sort of personality and individuality in order to kind of get more views and stuff. So it's definitely something that I don't kind of like. Everyone sets out to get seen and to get views and stuff, but like increasingly in recent years, I don't know, I've become sort of less inclined to just automatically like go for those easy options, I suppose. But then I say that, and like still, it is a bit of a mystery to this day, like how to get views. You can put something up which you put loads of effort into and it doesn't get seen very much at all, and then you can just put something else up which you didn't think was very good or whatever, and it just skyrockets. So it's a mystery, really. But yeah, there have been many highs and lows, and I would say as well that like even to this day I'm still experimenting, still working it out, to be honest. Yeah.
Right, well, that's fair enough, because we were talking before about the YouTube trying to, not necessarily exploiting the algorithm, but trying to get optimized like the search results and stuff. Is there still place right now for the more niche kind of things? Can a channel make it when they don't do plot leaks and all this kind of stuff? Because it does kind of feel like that's the only thing which gets any kind of traction at the moment. And I don't know, there was like a classic Who resurgence last year, but I kind of feel like it's kind of died down a little bit.
All right.
When I put classic stuff out, it's not really doing much. It's kind of stayed.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. Because it's like, as I was saying to you before, I think a lot of the stuff that does well these days is stuff with a negative spin on it. So stuff like where the thumbnail is "Did it suck?" And even if the video itself isn't particularly negative, I feel like the channels that do that sort of stuff have to put a negative spin on in order to get seen, in order to get clickbait, whatever. So no, unfortunately, I would probably say that really, I don't think there is a place for the more niche stuff at a higher level. But then again, I mean, some people do make it, I suppose. I guess it's just really sticking at something, and if you can just stick at it, and develop that niche and make a sort of name for yourself doing a certain series or whatever, or the one thing you can sort of guarantee good views for and good attention and stuff is either the stuff that has a negative spin on it or the stuff that's like leak, Series 13 news, rumours, a lot of which, you know, I've seen people who've done those sorts of videos and a lot of it doesn't turn out to be true, obviously. And like, yeah, you could just say, oh, well, it's part of the fun to speculate and to dissect every single rumour from every single Reddit thread and whatever. But at the same time, that's not something that personally I really want to be doing myself. Like, while on the one hand, yeah, that kind of stuff could do quite well, if your heart's not in that, and to be honest, how could it be, really? You know, if you just,
I mean, if everyone's saying the same thing
out of nothing,
if everyone reports on the same Reddit posts, why should I bother doing it? That's the reason I don't do it, because I just don't really have a spin on any of it, because I kind of just take Doctor Who as it comes now. I'm not hypercritical about it as much as I used to be, and I don't read into it anywhere near as much. It's always been this, I don't know whether it's like a misconception. I mean, Doctor Who has always been well written, but there are some classics which you can very easily pick apart, and I feel like people are very precious about certain classics. I don't know whether that's coming across right, but for example, Blink, I do like that story, but you can sit down and pick the hell out of it, I've found. There's so many plot holes with it.
Okay.
But you can just sit down and just kind of enjoy it, because obviously it's just a nice little short horror piece.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I take the Chibnall era as a little bit. Obviously things like, I wasn't a fan of Revolution, and I kind of made a point of saying that, but I did understand what it was going for, in terms it was just fun, trying to pick up the fun again. And yeah, it kind of felt like when I saw like people's reviews from, I don't know, Nerdrotic and all those kind of things, which I just watch, not because I agree or anything, just to see what they're saying.
Yeah, exactly.
And they were picking a lot of stuff about it, and it's like, wait, I didn't even see that in the episode. Like, yeah.
It's just making something out of nothing, isn't it? I guess.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, being overly, it's just like spending too much time on something like you know, get a life, get something else to do.
And to God's sake, all the people who work on it behind the scenes, who put in so much effort, and then they see a review of it, and all they're doing is criticising the writing or something, when there's so many different areas to production and so many people who put in work. And I can imagine it really hurts to be someone who's worked on Doctor Who and then watch a review.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
I would say so. But as you say, you can be uber critical or uber like praiseworthy of any episode, really, and they're all a bit naff in their own way. I mean, I guess it's just because of, like, in terms of the just demands on the production team and in terms of time as well, you know, it's never going to be the finished article or the most perfect thing ever, and then the budget restrictions and everything. And it's easy to lose sight of that, or to just, like, willfully ignore it and just pick something to shreds for the hell of it because it'll get views, and, you know... yeah, I mean, it's sort of part of Doctor Who's charm that it's not all perfect, and that the writing is a bit naff, or like, not even naff, but just like, I don't know, because like I kind of get people when like people criticize Chibnall's writing, saying, oh, it's exposition heavy, or like the characters think out loud or whatever. I don't know, like, yes, but also Doctor Who has sort of always been a bit like that, like especially in the classic era, or like not even just in the classic era, but like in any era. I mean, there's similar sort of issues or different sort of issues. But yeah, I mean, I guess it's just part of being a Doctor Who fan, really, and Doctor Who fans are always going to find something to complain about. So I mean, it's sort of inevitable, sadly, isn't it? But
yeah, I mean, it's an interesting point about the exposition stuff. Do you think that's merely a curse of the 50-minute formula, though? Because I feel the classic era was probably able to get away with it a bit more because it was spread over 4 to 6 parts. And you could get deeply invested, where I feel like when it's, I wouldn't say bite-sized, but when it's, I don't know, more mainstream, more mass consumerism kind of format, exposition just kind of clog it up a little bit. But it has its place, obviously. Exposition, heavy stuff. But series 11 for me, it was just a little bit too much.
Well, what I would say is that I think I don't know how much of it is intentional and isn't. I mean, I know that with Jodie, because of like the actress that Jodie is, the type of actress that Jodie is, and also the type of Doctor that they want 13 to be, I think there's a lot of intentional thinking out loud sometimes. Like if you think about an episode like the Stranger Conundrum, where the Doctor is sort of like, the Doctor is always sort of making it up as they go along, any Doctor in any episode or whatever. But like,
I mean, this guy does it quite a lot. Matt Smith. He's kind of guilty of saying his mind. So. Yeah,
exactly. And that is something which they've sort of especially like run with 13, I think. And I don't know, I wonder sometimes, because like the bit that springs out to me is in that episode of the Stranger Conundrum when she's talking about hope, and hope not just appearing automatically and manifesting itself automatically. You have to kind of work at it and make it a reality and stuff. And there's some quote like that. And when she's talking with Mabley, the nurse woman, and I don't know, I wonder whether part of that is like to do with, on a meta level, to do with like the challenge of Doctor Who. Like, is that just the predicament of Chris Chibnall, like trying to work to make this script a reality, trying to bring it onto the page and, you know, get it done and come on. And I wonder whether, I don't know, I wonder how much of it is intentional and isn't. But yeah, there's a part of me that wonders whether that is sort of a reflection of the challenges of writing the show, because it's hard. And like but there's also like in other episodes, like something like Arachnids in the UK, where the narrative sort of they take advantage of the fact that they've got the 4 core characters in the core cast, and like the narrative sort of, like in a Sarah Jane Adventures episode or something, the narrative sort of unfolds over like between them, and they all kind of come together. And just in terms of the way that the narrative is like relayed to the viewer, like it may seem a bit exposition heavy, it may not work necessarily, but I think there is a logic to it, perhaps, in terms of how that happens, and particularly when the Doctor is thinking out loud, as she often does in this incarnation. Part of me, I guess what I'm trying to say is, part of me wonders whether that is like Chibnall sort of thinking out loud, for better or for worse.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting way of putting it.
Point, really.
But, I can understand that, definitely. I mean, linking to that point.
Yes.
What is next for Doctor Who? What's Chibnall going to do with it? What do we want him to do with it, and what do we think he's going to do with it? Because I don't know whether I want him to bring more old characters back or not, because I feel like the nostalgia thing kind of, again, we talked about this before, maybe it's a little bit mistimed in the fact that maybe the Rusty Davies fans need to kind of have kids grow up a little bit and then settle into that kind of nostalgia. I kind of feel like he's leaning a bit heavy on the Rusty Davies stuff when, I don't know.
Yes. Yeah. I can see that, definitely. I mean, because we were saying as well that both of us, on a personal level, prefer Series 11 over 12, don't we? And I think for me, part of that is, apart from that, I liked Series 11 in its own right, and I like what it was doing, and I think it knows what it's doing more than Series 12. Part of it is also the fact that Series 12 does lean on the nostalgia a lot more. I mean, there's stuff like the Timeless Child thing, which kind of balances that fairly nicely, I think, because it's like turning to the past, but also adding a new aspect or a new dimension to the Doctor's past. But stuff like bringing Captain Jack back, which obviously now is hugely controversial given the sort of events of the last sort of few weeks. But even at the time, people were saying that, you know, when he came back in Fugitive and then Revolution, it's great to see him again, but what is he adding to the story here? And also, like, why are we bringing back him rather than like making our own Captain Jack or River Song character for this era, because obviously we had Captain Jack for the RTD era, we had River Song for the Moffat era. There's not like an equivalent character for Chibnall now, and I think they've perhaps sort of, in light of what's been happening with John Barrowman recently, that they've perhaps shot themselves in the foot a little bit there, because they had the chance to like make a Captain Jack River Song character and introduce them over series 11 and or 12, and instead they just brought Jack back
and didn't really do anything with him.
Yeah. Exactly, on both occasions. So I think, and yeah, like I didn't really have strong feelings either way. Like when he came back both times, like yeah, it was nice to see him, but at the same time he didn't do much, as you say. And I think that like Jack is the worst example of that, because there's other stuff that has happened, like bringing the Jadoon back. I think that worked quite nicely. Or I'm just trying to think of other.
I mean, I think Chibnall did
in series 12.
He did a really good job with the Cybermen. I think he's probably done the best.
Oh yeah.
Ashad has probably been the best thing to happen to the Cybermen since I don't know, Spare Parts with Big Finish or something like that.
Yeah. No, I get you with that. And also, I love... what do you think of what he did with the Master as well? Did you like that? Or?
If I'm being honest, no. I'm kind of a bit fed up of the... I'm fed up with the Joker betrayal.
Right, yeah, I can see that.
The Joker wannabe, because, I mean, stop copying Heath Ledger. Like, let Heath Ledger be the best goddamn villain on screen, and just leave it at that. But no, I want the Master to be cunning again. I want him to stroke his beard. They were starting to do that with John Sim.
I know what you mean. Yeah, I mean, I do quite like Sasha myself, but I know what you mean with that. Like, yeah, it would be nice to have a sort of older Master again, and more like in the vein of Delgado, and more sort of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I do like how they added a bit more dimension to the character. What with, I don't know, he just felt like he was in pain and just suffering because of what he found out about 13. Yeah. I like that. But, I mean, in typical Chibnall fashion, I kind of would have liked to have seen that a little bit more explored. I would have liked to actually seen him destroy Gallifrey, and maybe in flashbacks and stuff, where you actually see the rage and stuff. And I've kind of got a video coming out about the expansiveness of Doctor Who, and I feel like the biggest issue with it at the moment is the fact that it kind of just dips its toe in the water and doesn't really go full on with its ideas. And I don't know, I just love to see it do just wacky stuff like that instead of just telling me that Gallifrey's been destroyed. I'd like to see that as an arc or something. Maybe the Doctor's trying to stop the Master from doing it or something like that. And then he achieves it, and then it's like, oh my god, what's happened? And then maybe a Rusty Davis ending where they press the reset button and solve it or something. I don't know. Just something more than we got.
Well, because of course, actually, me saying that again reminds me that, of course, Gallifrey being gone again is like another sort of repetition in the cycle of Doctor Who, the overarching narrative. Or like, I don't know. I guess some of it, like with the nostalgia and stuff, and repeating old ideas a bit, and some of it is inevitable to a certain extent. Like, I guess they sort of run out of options, like especially when, as you were sort of saying, alluding to our previous conversation about like how, you know, I was saying to you that I think obviously it's going to take another sort of reset when the people that watched Rose and Series 1 and Series 2 and etc. are old enough to have had their own kids, and there'll be another sort of surge of nostalgia then, like nationwide nostalgia for Doctor Who, in a way that you can't really force that, especially when it's been back for so long now. And like I am a big fan of the Chibnall era in a lot of ways, and like I'm certainly not one of the people that wants to like tear treasure on anything. But this is just like whatever era it was now, I'd be saying the same thing. I think, like, just because you sort of run out of options, and even if you try and do new stuff with it, I guess, yeah, because there's all these not old, but like since 2005, there's all these other seasons to compare it to, and to say, oh, it was better then, or whatever, or I don't know, or just all these old characters and arcs and narratives and things to rely on and to repeat or whatever, or even if you're not consciously repeating them, they're there so it looks like you're repeating them. Like with the Gallifrey thing, maybe, you know, like, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. Yeah, it's tricky. I mean, I would say myself that, I don't know, I think it's more the case that they're victims of that, the production team, as opposed to them actively doing anything. But then, like, you look at something like Jack, and to be honest, that was just a bit meaningless, really. And it looks like, the further we get away from it, the more it looks like just a desperate attempt to sort of recapture some of the, like, RCD era hype. I don't want to say the word success because that implies something which is not quite what I'm going for here, but just like, cause, yeah, like, I like the Chibnall era, but at the same time, I don't know. There is definitely an aspect of that, and I think it's sort of unavoidable, and I don't really know what they could do about it, to be honest. I mean, I don't know.
Okay, so we're back from the brief intermission. I've taken my jacket off because I was absolutely sweating like crazy. So, good choice, Oscar. 4 layers. But anyway, so I just wanted to ask you, Richard, apart from Doctor Who, what would you like to do with your life? Where do you see yourself in, I don't know, 10 years? Do you see yourself being in the industry? That kind of stuff. And what projects have you done which aren't Doctor Who?
Okay. Well, my ambition is to write for television eventually. If that ever happens, I don't know when it'll be. Probably a long way off yet, to be honest. Because it's difficult. But, yeah, like, and I mean, on the one hand, doing Doctor Who would be the dream. On the other, it would sort of, you would be subjecting yourself, like all the stuff we talked about fans already, like you would be subjecting yourself to all of that, and it would be a bit surreal, for better and for worse, I think, just like actually being responsible for it. So I've got mixed feelings about that. I mean, if the offer came, I would obviously say yes, but it would be difficult, and I'm aware of that. But no, apart from that, I don't know, just like, I want to write Doctor Who-y type things, or like stuff that deals like with that sort of ordinary, extraordinary, like meeting of worlds, which Doctor Who does so well, and the stuff, because I've been studying English literature and creative writing at university, and the stuff I've done as part of the course for that, like especially the most recent thing I've done, it kind of pushes on that quite hard. It's basically Doctor Who meets student life and like university life, mashing those two things together, which came quite naturally to me, and that's something that I think could work quite well with further development. So yeah, there's that, I suppose, and just, I don't know, really, just in terms of what I want to write about, I guess I'm still working that out, but a lot of it is what I've said already. That's sort of about student life, maybe, or just about bringing those Doctor Who sensibilities to other, like, ordinary scenarios and things in real life.
I mean, I'm picturing class, but good.
Oh, I wish. Well, I had to write one episode, or like most of an episode, for like one of my final assignments. So I'm hoping and praying it's good, because it's been sent off now and I can't change it. But yeah, no, that is it basically. That I would like to do something like that, and I don't know if there's a market for that, like doing something set on a university campus, because there's so much stuff set at schools, like comedies and dramas and things, and I don't know whether that's more marketable. But I feel like more stuff about student life would be kind of cool, because there's a lot of untapped potential there, I think.
Okay.
Serious stuff, not just like parodies about students, because there's plenty of that, and like taking the mick, or sort of like stereotypes. about students, and just like what that whole experience of going to university is like, and just the reality of it. So I guess that's where I'm at. But in terms of stuff I've actually done, there's not a lot yet. But I have I've collaborated with Miles on one short film already, Bye Bye Benji.
Which is really good, by the way. Everyone should go and support it.
He'd written.
It's awesome.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. I did the score for that and the camera work for that. And yeah, I'd like to do more stuff like that, in the future, I think. I don't know, really. I guess it's sort of hopefully breaking into the industry a bit. I mean, but in terms of what's next, I don't really know. But yeah, the writing is something I'd like to pursue, I think, and sort of films and television and stuff. I definitely want to do television over films if I can eventually get there. I feel like there's more to be said for like series long narratives and stuff like that, and episodic stuff. That's definitely where I'm at. So that's the ambition.
Nice.
That's the ambition. Yeah.
I mean, I was always the kind of guy I'm either Doctor Who or nothing. But to be honest, the past couple of years have really opened my eyes in the fact that if I want to actually collaborate with people, I need to put myself in spaces where I'm not comfortable. I've been doing trying a lot of self-improvement stuff as well, just personally. And the whole thing, just about life in general, is just putting yourself in zones which you're not comfortable with. Because if you don't do that, you're not going to learn. Like, for example, my editing now, I feel like it's got better because I've been watching tutorials and gone to uni, speaking to different people. And I would never have done that back in 2018. I was so stubborn and so dead set on my ways. And I want to just slap myself in the back of the head because so stubborn. But yeah, I'm sure you're aware that you're going to have to write stuff you don't want to write to get to the place you want to get to.
Oh God, yeah. And like even when it comes to writing stuff that you do want to write, like it's terribly difficult because you've sort of got something you want to say, or it might not even be as sort of simplified as that, as like a particular message or anything, but like you've got a feeling or something that you want to kind of communicate, or lots of different feelings, and you've got to get that down onto paper, which is really difficult. You've got to format that into a narrative and into something which is like potentially marketable and is going to do well, and sort of argue the case for why that story should be told. And obviously, I've not done this in a professional setting yet. I've only had experience of doing this for university, which is a different kettle of fish because the stuff you write for university doesn't actually go anywhere. It's just submitting stuff and getting a grade back, which is not so great. But yeah, that's definitely how I think of it now. And as you say, yeah, it does involve sort of having to do stuff you don't want to do necessarily, or sort of, I suppose, taking your own ideas and inevitably having to kind of compromise them and sort of mold them into something which matches other people's expectations and intentions, and it's a messy thing, isn't it?
I mean, a massive fear for me is not being in control, because take for example either Spider-Man 3. Have you seen Spider-Man 3?
I'm not into all that sort of stuff, I'm afraid. But
well, I'll give you a little bit of a backstory on that.
Okay.
Sam Raimi, the director, I mean, I'm kind of paraphrasing, loose knowledge, but he didn't really want there to be that many villains in the movie, but the studio, Sony, came along and said, oh no, you need Venom, you need Sandman, you need all of this stuff in it. And I kind of worry when I become a creative in the industry, if I ever get there, that my ideas are just going to be shredded by the overheads, and it's such a scary prospect. I mean, even Neil Gaiman with Nightmare in Silver, because he wanted to do the Invasion Cybermen, but then Moffat and his crew said, oh no, we need these new really fast Cybermen, we need them to be more powerful than ever. I mean, I don't know whether that was Moffat's idea or whatever, but you could definitely tell there was a lot of studio interference, and it's a very scary prospect.
No, I know exactly what you mean, and I guess the overriding thing is like, because as I say, you have your own ideas, and it's about like finding that niche, and it's about it being marketable at the end of the day. It's about making something which is, or writing something or making whatever that is going to make money, like for a company. Like that's at the end of the day, and you have to sort of format your ideas into that.
You've really got to,
hypothetically, not from experience, but
you got to know what you're getting into with any kind of industry.
Yes.
Really.
Yeah, it's difficult, isn't it? Yeah, there's highs and lows. So that's what I'm setting myself up for, and you too, I suppose. But yeah, hopefully something good will come out of it eventually for both.
I mean, we might accidentally become producers in Doctor Who, and do whatever we want. I've got big plans, but nobody would want to see my series apart from die-hard classic fans. Yeah, okay. Lighten it up a little bit more. Let's talk about toys, because you got a beautiful display behind you. Just tell me where it started and how it spread, and just will you ever stop? Because I want.
Okay. Yes. So, in terms of where collecting and stuff started, my first ever Doctor Who thing, the thing that got me into the show, made me aware of the show, was an issue of Doctor Who Adventures magazine, which I've still got. It was issue 56, had a TARDIS on the cover. This was in March 2008, just prior to the launch of Series 4. So that's where Doctor Who started for me, and it actually started through the merchandise, I suppose. And then with the figures, my first ever set was the Utopia set. The 10th Doctor in his long coat, Martha Jones, Professor Yana, and the Master regenerated. Those 4 figures, which were, at the time they were great, and loved them, and fantastic. And it really did just grow from there. Because the Matt Smith era was sort of the first time I was there for the start, the opening of it, at the start of that era. So I got a lot of stuff from there. I got a lot of stuff because they had loads of stock already from the RTD era floating about. So at the time, and then over the years, I've picked up that as well. Got into the classic stuff around about 2015, so I came pretty late to that.
Yeah. So you've got to spend a pretty penny on getting some of the back catalogue stuff.
I mean, yes. Well, I've stayed to my own rules pretty well, in terms of not going over certain amounts. Like there's stuff that I missed out on, which I might never get, I suppose, or I could get them, but I'm not gonna submit to the price on eBay. Like things like the Sontaran ships, the big 4 packs of Daleks and Doctors and stuff for Remembrance, Revelation. Actually, I got the Revelation one, but Resurrection and Genesis and Destiny don't stand a chance for those. Or things like the Emperor Davros and Destroyed Imperial Dalek, stuff like that. But having said that, I mean, the classic stuff, I'm pretty pleased with where it's at, and the collection as a whole as well. But there are some gaps. At the moment, I'm sort of not with any particular impetus or anything, but I'm sort of going back and just filling in gaps in the RTD era, little variants and stuff. So every now and then I pick up a variant that I didn't have, just to plug a little gap.
How many variants though? Because with Martha, there's 2 variants. One which has slightly different makeup, and you can barely tell the difference. Where do you draw the line?
Is that just on the with the pink coat? And the jeans? Oh, right. Now I
no.
Don't do stuff like that. I mean, I did back in the day. I got the second Professor Bracewell variant, just with the black glove.
That was so weird.
Yeah,
did it?
To be honest, now I probably wouldn't do that, or I'd do that as a last resort. But for some reason, that was high on my list of priorities. But no, now I've got a list. I know what I'm missing, and there's certain stuff which again, like certain variants and little tiny variants and things that I probably won't ever get, just because like at the end of the day there's only so many David Tennants you can have or whatever, and like at the end of the day you want it to look nice on the shelf as well. You don't want to kind of overload it with just loads of the same figure or something. So no, but I mean, having said that, actually, so I think everything I'm missing from New Who, apart from the Reaper, Captain Jack and his long coat, and I think there's another one, but there's only like 2 or 3 that are actually new sculpts. Oh, Banakafalata, I think it's just those 3, and everything else I'm missing is just like a sculpt that I already own, but just in a different color, or like with a different head or something. So yeah, that's where I'm at with that. But in terms of whether I'd ever stop, no is the short answer for that. I've sort of seen this I've got 2 younger siblings, and with my younger sister, like she's currently going through different phases and things. Like she's been in gone through a massive Ariana Grande phase, and she's sort of starting to come out of that and going into other stuff like K-pop and things. And like, I don't know, it hadn't really struck me until I'd seen that happen to someone else like younger than me, that it's really quite extraordinary that, or maybe it isn't, maybe I'm just clingy and stuck to Doctor Who and have never let go. But I don't know, I think it's quite rare to still to have become a fan of something so early, and I've got toys for something, and for them to still now be sitting on my shelf, with me age 20 now, I still they still have value to me.
Right.
Doctor Who is just run right through. There's obviously there's variants and things that I've old figures that are tatty now and I've replaced, but a vast majority of the RTD and Matt Smith ones behind me they started off as toys that I got as a kid, and they've sort of become collector's items. But it's run through as a constant. I've never sort of waned away from it or anything. So yeah, I think that is quite rare, and for better and for worse. I mean, I'm sort of in it for the for the long haul now. It's in terms, I guess, in terms of the amount of stuff I've got, but not just that, but also just in terms of the emotional investment I've got in the show. I couldn't ever let it go. I couldn't ever become a not my Doctor or something and just just say, oh, not for me anymore.
One figure which I'm going to ask whether you have. Well, I'll start off with the question: which is the rarest Matt Smith era figure?
The Amelia Pond Doctor Who Experience figure.
No,
isn't it?
No. Well, I mean, I don't know. Released, mass-produced figure, let's say, not exclusive, because it doesn't really count.
I see. I need to look at them now. Gosh.
I'm going to give you 10 seconds to figure out the rarest single card release. 10, 9,
I mean,
8,
I'd like to suggest
7.
Cyberman from Series 6, is it that?
Yeah, you're right, yeah.
Yes, it's that.
That's the rarest one. Do you have it?
I do. It's not on the shelf there, actually, but it's right high up on my TARDIS playset up there. I do have it. Although, there was a interesting story with that figure, because I got it on eBay or something a few years back, and I was really pleased. And then it arrived with, there was something wrong with the face, and so I actually had to get a Stanley knife and take out the just the bit with the the eyes.
Yeah, the visor bit. Yeah.
Yeah, I had to yank that out and stick it back in because it wasn't aligned properly. So that was a bit of a nightmare. But yes, I do have it. It's a nice figure, although compared to the other Cyberman figures, there's not a whole lot of difference. But I
know it's one thing. It's just the chest plate, and it's so hard to get. It's ridiculously hard to get. I mean, I've got one, luckily boxed, because I was in London when the Sci-Fi Collector shop, they'd just got that wave. They'd got that wave in, and I was like, yeah, I better get it before it goes. I think that was the only one left or something, and God, I think the last one sold for about 60 quid in box.
Oh wow,
it's insane, and I'm so glad I got it when I did. But I can't army build. I know, because they're so hard to get. And the white shirt Matt Smith as well. That one's very hard to get as well, and I got that one as well.
I think actually, yeah, I got that recently, a few years back, and I think actually when I got it, I was then told by people on Twitter that it's not as rare as you think it is. I think
boxed, it's hard to come by, but it's one of the cases where a lot of the Chinese factories had a lot of stock left over, and then distributed it and made it readily available. Like the Axon humanoid figure, that was another one of those which you can pick up really easily. But
I always see those listings on eBay, and I'm always a bit suspicious of them. Like, I don't know. I guess one day I should perhaps just buy one and see how it comes. See if you could tell the difference. But I haven't risked that yet.
What is next for character options? Because I'm in that place where I'm a little bit annoyed because they're no longer a toy company. Well, obviously character options are a toy company, but you know what I mean. The Doctor Who stuff, it's not toys. It's not marketed really as a mass appeal because I've kind of gone off that idea because toys are what started the whole obsession, and I would love it to go back to the roots of it being more interactive, more play sets, more colourful accessories, you know, that kind of stuff where it's just a lot
I know what you mean.
more appealing. And they lost it, I think, in the Capaldi era. They tried with like the orange and blue packaging, but the figures they were coming out with, because Series 6 was very dark and sombre, it didn't match up, and I think that's kind of what killed the character options line, the 3.75 inch range.
In fact, actually, I was watching your video of the prototypes that you have from the 3.75 inch range.
They're really good, aren't they?
And it didn't... Yeah, and the packaging as well. It didn't strike me until I saw those two packagings side by side, how awful the yellow one is.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Well, I always sort of tolerated it, but I don't know. I guess for kids, maybe, like in theory, maybe it works. But as you said, I think they lost. I mean, I guess the main one, like everyone says, is that they sort of lost it. Sort of after David Tennant left, or it kept going a bit into like Series 5, didn't it? And then Series 6 sort of time is when things took a different direction. And then, I mean, looking back with the launch of the 3.75 inch stuff, that did at least kind of get into supermarkets or like Argos or whatever. Like it got into shops a bit more, didn't it? And then nowadays they aren't even trying to do that, because like even the mass market wave from Series 11 and 12 just, I guess at the same time because COVID hit, I mean, you can't really get it out and about there anyway into shops and stuff. But at the same time that felt like a very sort of exclusive, almost exclusive thing, didn't it? Because like it's not something you could just pop into Tesco and pick up. I
mean, I just find it a bit weird how they didn't release Jodie with, I don't know, a pating or something. Even if it's not articulated, it's like a hollow thing.
It's a thing,
you know, like a cheap thing to make. I really don't understand the business decisions, to be honest. Because if Chibnall's trying to push these new monsters, surely there would have been like a meeting with the merchandising team and all this kind, and in the style guides and stuff. And it just feels like when that wave came out of 4 figures, was it? It felt very underwhelming, like, oh, okay, Graham's just a Stephen Hart with a Graham head, and he's not even the right height or build. The Dalek is good, but if you want to get into the nitty gritty of it, it's not very screen accurate. But then again, it's a toy, so oops, God, just knocked my earphones out again. That's going in the outtakes. And where are our defense drone Daleks? Like where are they?
I don't know.
I love that design.
I mean, there was a tweet going around recently from someone who had made like a Woolworths mock-up with like Jodie era stuff in. There's like a set of like 3 defense drone Daleks and 3 Death Squad Daleks. Like, and that would never happen, to be honest. I think it's 6 Daleks in one pack, but nevertheless,
like, even I wouldn't buy that.
Something like that. Or like remote control. I think they had a mock-up of remote control.
Like a 12-inch
one.
Yeah.
A 12-inch would be great, or even just 5-inch, or just anything like that. And again, I think it's just, sadly, it's just down to the state of things and where we are. Like, if the defense drone was the design like when the Daleks came back in 2005, and it would have been treated very differently in terms of the merchandising. So it's sad, and yeah, I like you. I mean, I want to see all that stuff as well. And like, where's our second series? Like, second Jodie wave? We've had one wave, and then where's the next? And like with all the B&M stuff as well. Yeah, it is just that collector market now, isn't it? And I guess the thing is with them is that they're probably sort of clinging on to things a bit, but at the same time, like, from doing that from a financial and business like perspective, at the same time, it's sort of in our interests for them to like keep the license, because if they lost it, then that would be it for like this range, and we'd never kind of, well, I suppose we'd never go back to that unless like a company specifically chose to do that, like with the scale and the detail and everything, and the style of the figures.
If you could choose a toy company, though, what would it be? Because I'd choose Jack Specific, because they linking it to Sonic, but they've completely got the market. They know exactly what the fans and the general audience want. Whereas I feel Character Options have just got the fans down, and people in the general audience don't bother picking up a 13th Doctor box set. So I want Jack Specific to take it over.
I mean, I'm not savvy at all with any other companies, to be honest. So I won't show myself up there by trying to suggest someone. But yeah, I know what you mean, and I think, because obviously, like you say, it did start off as a toy line for kids, and it is sort of like clinging on for dear life a bit now. I mean, not that we don't still get cool stuff, but I don't know if we'll ever kind of get back to where we were in those early days in terms of the new sculpts and things. And
what's the best figure character I've ever made?
I'll
figure
just take a
set
minute to
or
look.
something.
Oh gosh, there's so much choice. I mean, just off the bat, like the Victory of the Daleks set was one that I always liked as a kid. I always thought that was pretty bonkers, and the fact that we'd got a Winston Churchill with like his rotocast legs, and the iron sides were always really nice. So that was great. Oh goodness, I don't know. I mean, I loved, in terms of the new series stuff, I think the standout has got to be like some of the monsters. Like, even though like they're not like individual standout figures or sculpts necessarily, like stuff like, I was looking on my shelf, like stuff like the Sontarans or Ood or Weeping Angels, whatever, or Silurians. I just long for the days when we get monsters again like that you can army build, and just it's so sad that we don't get that anymore.
I mean, I kind of think that they would. My pitch would have been for them to have done what they did with the 3.75 inch Subwave. You know, when they released like the Heritage line, where you could have David Tennant, a classic Dalek, and Capaldi all in the same line. I do think there is kind of like an appeal in that kind of a sense, because it allows the line just to be a bit more colourful, a bit more eye-catching, just a bit more engaging. Yeah, because I mean, if you made a figure line of Series 9, then is there anything stand out from Series 9 which you could have got? The cat creature from The Woman Who Lived.
Oh, mate. Well, maybe the Maya, I think, would have been pretty cool.
Yeah, that would have been pretty cool. That was like a deluxe thing. That would be really awesome.
Because that was like the one monster they were pushing that year in terms of the marketing, I guess, wasn't it? And but yeah, no, I know what you mean. Like spicing it up a bit, like mixing it up a bit, would be good. And that is what they tried with the 3.75 inch range. It's just a shame that it was not the 5 inch range. But yeah, I don't know where they go from here, really, because like, if they genuinely are doing as much as they can, then I guess we either just accept that this is the best they can do now in the current climate, or risk like the alternative would be for the license to go to someone else, I guess. And I mean, I'm not knowledgeable enough to know like how that would work out, but it would mean starting from scratch, like we did have to do with the 375 line, and a lot of people hated having to do that.
Yeah.
So
nobody would want to take over the Doctor Who license, though. That's the sad thing, because of kind of the state that the fandom kind of has been in. I don't really think that license holders would really see much potential, to be honest, which is quite it's very sad.
I mean, yeah, the time will come one day. I mean, I sometimes think to myself, if you imagine you were like a viewer of the classic era, like when the classic era figures came out, I mean, how many years did you have to wait to get your Tom Baker, Peter Davison, Colin Baker, Zygons,
Yes, Peter Davison
you had
and
to
Colin
wait.
Baker, 2008, wasn't it, when they actually got a figure?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
From broadcast, you're having to wait like up to, well, like 30, 40 years for those. And so I guess my hope is that like 34 or 40 years from now, I mean, who knows where the state of toys and stuff is going to be in collector markets and things, but just imagine that'd be so great if they revisited some of these new series once they're classic. And it probably wouldn't be character, it'd probably be someone else by then, 30 years time, whatever. But yeah, hopefully in the future these characters and monsters and things can get the figures they always deserved to have. I mean, albeit in some different range with some different company, and they probably won't be in scale with this lot, but you know, hopefully something. Once this current stuff is old enough for people to get nostalgic for, hopefully they'll see value in it, and there will be value in it, hopefully.
I mean, speaking of nostalgia, what piece do you really, character options, book, or anything Doctor Who merchandise related, what do you stop and look at and go, oh, I remember the time where this was the best thing in the entire world, and it still is. What is that?
Oh gosh. I mean, well, any of this, to be honest. Like, I still get so much pleasure from like seeing all this now. Like, especially looking at like the Series 4 wave, because that is when I got into the show. And I think it's a great wave as well, because you've got so many colours in it. You've got the blues of the Sontarans, you've got the red of the Pyroval Priestess, the yellow of the Vespiform, like the greens and purples on the Hath. It's such a colourful wave, and there's so many different monsters and creatures there. So, yeah, seeing those and like having bought like new, because I used to have like old tatty Ood figures, like the Ood Sigma and the Natural Ood, so I've replaced them more recently with newer, fresher, crisper versions, and just opening those up again and seeing them on the shelf, you know, without any paint scratches or bashing around from when they've been played with.
Yeah.
That really recaptures it, and it's so nice. Yeah, it's a great feeling to open those again and to see them displayed on the shelf. But I mean, anything, I guess, like any of that old RTD era or sort of early Matt Smith era merch, does it for me. Like, one of the most recent things I've been going back and getting some of is the Micro Universe range, or even the card ranges, the Battles in Time stuff.
Did you ever get Super Rose?
Oh no, unfortunately not.
I got 2, because that should tell me how much I bought. Yeah, I kind of flooded my house with Battles in Time cards. Yeah.
At the time or more recently?
No, at the time.
Like, at the time? Wow.
There'd always be a bribe from my parents if I did my homework or something. Like, oh, you can have a packet of Battles in Time for doing your work.
Oh, wow,
and I remember the day I got Super Rose it was the best day of my life, and it's never going to get topped. I don't care what happens to me. I mean, I could have a family of like 3 kids and stuff, but it's never going to top Super Rose. Yeah, I was walking home from... I'll censor this out because I don't want to give away where we live. I mean, it's your typical second-hand game shop, but over the counter it's like, oh, can I please have a packet of Invaders cards, please? That kind of thing. And I remember opening it, and the first thing was cameraman. You remember the card cameraman in the Invader set?
Oh, I do, yes. Invader, yeah.
I turned it over, like, oh, I've got that. And then there was another cameraman. I was like, hang on, something's not right here. And then turned it over, and then all more commons and stuff I already had. Turn it over, and gold. I've done it. I've achieved my lifelong dream of owning Super Rose.
Oh, wow.
And I remember the time I went to Superdrug, which is no longer there. There was a Devastator pack of cards, and it was, I tell no lie, it was about that... hang on, you can't see me. About that thick. There were about 25 cards in it. And I should have just left it as like a mysterious collector's piece of 25 cards in a packet. It was absolutely nuts. And I've just got so much nostalgia for those cards, so I think that's probably my answer for like the one thing which is like a halo just above it whenever I open the book, like, oh... That's my thing.
I mean,
yeah.
I would sort of give anything to sort of just go back in time, go into a shop like around that time of the RTD era, and just it's all those oranges of the packaging and the reds. It's just it's so.
They just got it right.
Just,
I don't understand
everything.
what it was they got right. Like, why does it work so well? Like, looking at my David Tennant figure from the first wave, it's so good. It's so mid-2000s. I love it.
Yeah. No, it's great. But also, I'll add something else to there as well, actually. All that merchandise, but also taking it back to the Doctor Who Adventures magazine, I sometimes think to myself, because I've still got all my issues of them, but they've got like, across the front covers, they've got like marks from where the tape has been torn off.
Oh, yeah. I know.
I would love to be able to like have like experience them as new again. You know, like have fresh copies of them and recapture that feeling, because that was always the highlight of my week, that magazine. I loved it so much, and still have got a lot of love for it. Yeah, I mean, that applies to all of them really, because like as the years go on, all this merchandise, there's still a lot of old stock out there on eBay and stuff, but like the colours are slowly fading on the packaging. It's all getting a bit older, and like you can sort of recapture it to an extent, but nothing will ever recapture seeing it new, like brand new on the shelves.
Okay, I'll round it off with the last question, which I ask all my guests because I'm just that guy. The paradigm. Explain to me your stance. Explain to me your stance, and
I've got.
Should they return?
Now.
Go get one.
I'll get the drone. There we go.
I will say the drone is probably the ugliest one.
Oh, do you think?
Yeah, I don't like how bright the red is. I think it should have been more like the Series 4 Supreme. That kind of...
Oh, yeah,
not quite burgundy, but a little bit darker red.
Do you prefer the metallic one?
No, I actually think the metallic ones are hideous.
It's worse?
Yeah.
Really? Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
Which is... I don't know, it's like when... I don't know, it's just because they were shot really badly, but they just don't... I think in Asylum they looked okay, but when you saw them in like the Five-ish Doctors things and like the script read-throughs and like the Anton Deck thing when they were at the BAFTA or whatever it was, they as a Paradigm Defender, they look really ugly in burgundy red, like a metallic burgundy. And I love how they look in their original colours. I never saw the issue.
Yeah, I don't know really. I guess I always thought in my head that the metallic ones worked better, I guess because that was just the general consensus. But as you say, I do actually think the original colour scheme, especially, to be honest, especially when they're next to each other, I don't see the issue with like people say, oh, it's the Rainbow Daleks or Teletubbies or whatever, but I think they complement each other pretty nicely when they're all together, or even just in different combinations, like to allude to the video you did about them recently, the fan ownership thing, like when they're in the video games or the comics, whatever, when you've got loads of these next to each other. But yeah, no, to take it back to the question, I'm definitely for the paradigms rather than against.
Okay.
And I do wish they'd done more with them. I mean, it's simple as that, really. I wasn't really, I guess, because I sort of was probably a bit too young when the episode went out to be in tune with the sort of discourse surrounding them properly. Like, as to what actually happened. Like, obviously, I get it now, but yeah. So I guess at the time as well, but because of that, I didn't really like the fact that there was this perceived issue about them. Probably didn't even occur to me, because I just wasn't on Twitter or reading forums or whatever. So yeah, I mean, in those early Matt Smith era days, I mean, yeah, these were the Daleks, and certainly on a lot of the early merchandise and the magazines and things. I mean, this is what they pushed, and they went for it, and I just wish it had continued, because although they're not perfect, they do have a nice charm about them. Like they're their own thing. Like the bronze ones are great, but this design is great as well. Yeah, I don't know what else I can say, really. I don't get the hate for them, to be honest. I don't get it.
No. So, yes, thank you very much, Richard, for joining us for this discussion about, I don't really know. I just kind of wanted to experiment with no structure and see where it ended up. And, yeah.
It's
deep on
definitely
some
gone places,
topics.
so
It has.
worked.
It has. And,
Well, thanks for having me. Yeah, it's been great to be here. Great to have a chat.
cool.
Yeah,
Cool.
really awesome.
Oh, my headphones fell out again. So thank you very much for watching, guys, and we'll see you in the next one.